right, what's up, familia? Welcome inside the hotel room. Hope you guys are doing good. Keep in between the lines. Got your load secure. As you guys know, man, every month, at least once a month, I want to be bringing up a subject of child molestation, right? So, hey, here we go, man. So let's go ahead and do it. Hey, man, I got just a guy, my special guest, man, that I just, just talking to him, it just brings a light out of me, man. So let me just go ahead and bring him in. Heart of Life, one Pastor Tony.
Hey, I'm here.
That you are.
I did that. Pastor David was on Tony A, and they had open phone calls. Mm-hmm. So they opened up the lines, man, and the Tony A's like, hello? And I was like, I'm here. They're like, okay, who's this? And then Pastor David recognized me, but it was kind of funny, man. I don't know why I said I'm here, like they're waiting for me or something. Anyway, Thecholotrucker, man.
What's up, man.
Every time we look at a truck or any kind of Chicano stuff, is that Thecholotrucker? Like, no, it's like a big dude with a big beard. Like, no, it's not him, man. Oh, man.
Anyway. Maybe one day I'll have a big beard. Maybe one day
Spring training, man. You're supposed to come to spring training. You still come to Phoenix?
Man, so okay, we've been wanting to do that for a long time, right? So what's going to end up happening is that next year, because the whole baseball shutdown thing, they didn't have, they pushed spring training back and all, but next year we're definitely going to go out there for a week. There's a lot of things we want to do in Arizona. One is definitely I want to go see the church, man, and hang out with you guys. I want to go up with Pastor David as well and go to the house of rest up there as well. So we're definitely going to make our way out there. That's in the bucket list. That's in the bucket list.
All right. Yeah, man. I saw the Angels at spring training a couple years ago, and it's really chill, man. Everyone's like real chill. It's like going to the park rather than going to a baseball game. It's kind of like going to a glorified park. And everything's just right there, and everyone's just chilling, and all these famous baseball players doing their thing. And everyone's just kind of hanging out on grass lawns, watching the baseball players play. And yeah, man, we used to make some pretty good money off of that back when we did our VRBO and the real estate rental stuff. We make about six or seven G's a month with all these spring training people that would come down, and that was nice for a minute, man, until the COVID hit, and then it got really complicated. Because we had a bunch of people trying to get refunds. So you got people that got 4 months reservation, 6 months reservation, trying to cancel a week before for one thing or another. Like, how the heck are we going to get customers holding the spot for you? So that got really complicated. So we felt like, you know what? I think it's time for us to put our chips in, sell some properties, man, and do something different, And we have these aspirations of opening up a music venue on the west side Phoenix over here and having live music. Not just Christian, man. It's gonna be a big Christian, it's gonna be a feel, but it's not. It's for everyone who wants to come and just be like, just chill out, hang out, man, enjoy themselves, So yeah, that's what we plan to do. But yeah, man, I do appreciate you, Thecholotrucker. I think I've been following you, man, since Pastor David kind of turned us on. Pastor David was here at my house in Phoenix when he got the phone call to be the chaplain for the fight. It was all DL. It was all confidential. There was no announcements yet. I didn't know what he was talking about. Like, yeah, cool. He's like, Thecholotrucker, Thecholotrucker, he does that. He says something, then he asks if he knows him, and Gunners Collective. I'm like, yeah, man, like, cool. I was so caught up in our church being packed because he was here. He was gonna preach, man. He was gonna go to Phoenix, and he had all these people in Phoenix, man, waiting to hear him speak. It's like, dang. And the guy is one of the most humble guys, man. Seriously, like he doesn't understand his legend, right? I don't think he wants to, you know what I mean? But my property was packed. I have a half acre in Northwest Phoenix. And he had my backyard packed, cars up and down. Man, we're having a house party for the Lord, man. It was popping, I guess you could say. And he came and brought it, and that was that same week when he got the word that he was going to be doing that with you guys, man. So I felt a connection right there. And then I saw the pay-per-view, man. I paid my $50 or whatever it was, and it was all delayed. It was like 3 hours late. pre-recorded all this drama, man. Like, dang, my mom even said, I'm going home. I can't wait for this. I'm like, all right, mom, see you later. But we still watched it, man. We're still part of, that was the first time we got plugged. Actually, Pastor David had them plug our church in Phoenix as well as his church. And I was like, dang. So we're actually part of that history, man, of that pay-per-view. Or you get a little shout out to the church in Modesto and Phoenix, man. That was our first little like love we got, bro. And I tell you, the church is growing real slow, but healthy. You know what I mean? I feel like whenever we get like these people with like, you know, with just religious spirits, man, trying to do things like, I don't know how to explain. I'm not trying to be all churchy about it, but I just feel like the people that are here are being discipled or are growing in and knowing who God is in the Bible in a healthy way, not just a churched out way. You know, they're like the real people are getting like lives changed, man. We have a brother here that was drunk, straight up drunk, and came to church every week. And then now he hasn't drank a lick of alcohol in 4 months or so, 5 months. You know, he's completely sober now. And, you know, that has nothing to do with our philosophy or how we do things, man. It has to do with just trusting in God's grace, man. And yeah, so we're trying to do that. So we're about 25 strong. So if you came here, you know what I mean, you had to bust out with the autographs. I don't know what, but it'd be a little circle around you, and then we'd be going to church. But anyway, it's a small.
I'm not there, man. I'm not there. What's up to everybody on here, Matt, Adam Thompson, Denise Castillo, Tacos and Workouts. What's up, homie? Just real quick on the fight. It was a pleasure. It was an honor having Pastor David at the fight, and just like I told you earlier, man, that's a memory that's gonna live with me forever. It really is, man. I would take that all the way to the grave, man. What a great moment for me and all, and my kids and everything. It was just a great moment. But you know what? You were talking a little bit about real estate and everything, and we're gonna get into all of that because I really want to see the transformation in your life and the effects that something had in your life when you were a kid. Just like, you know, just like myself, just like, you know, so many others out there. You suffered through child molestation as a kid.
Yeah.
Can you take us back and walk us through that?
Sure. So I'm from Richmond, California, and I grew up in the Bay Area. So that's the San Francisco Bay Area right there. Richmond is like it's caked between Vallejo and Berkeley, or Vallejo and Oakland. It's like right in the corner in the Bay Area. It's very popular because it's affordable to live there. It's like it used to be one of the only places you can live in the Bay Area. You know, I mean, if you're broke, you know, and so we had a beach there and everything, man. So I grew up there the first 14 years of my life. But what happened as a 4-year-old, we lived in North Richmond, which is the toughest place in the city of Richmond. I don't think they even have a police department in North Richmond. It's just like literally, it's a rough spot, real rough. I don't know how to compare that to LA areas, Compton, whatever. But there's no law enforcement. It's just drugs and prostitution. It's just a dark, forsaken place where the people basically policing themselves. Unincorporated is what they called it for some reason. It's like we don't need anyone. So I was living in there in the projects, and as a 4-year-old kid, there was the projects they're like townhouses face to face. So I remember as a 4-year-old kid having dreams, thinking I could fly. You know what I mean? So I remember having a vivid dream. I think I might have saw Superman 1 or something. And in my dream, I was flying. I remember having that dream, like waking up feeling bummed out that I couldn't fly. Like, oh man, I thought I could fly, you know? So this is my mindset. I was also having this dream, just one desire. I had a really strong desire to see Empire Strikes Back because it just came out and it was in the movie theater, Hilltop Mall. I want to see Empire Strikes Back. And then, so this is where my mind is. I have an older brother and sister who would visit occasionally, but we had some relatives from Texas that came down, and they're like, they're part of an affair. My grandpa had an affair in Texas and had 3 other kids in Texas while he's living out here in the Bay Area. So he had kids over there, and those kids eventually became teenagers and got too much to handle. So they came down to the Bay Area, and everyone kind of patched them in the family. Have to accept them, whether it's out of wedlock, out of an affair. You know, they're still familia. It's not their fault. So they come down. One of them was a 14-year-old. I guess you could say he's an uncle. There's no blood relation here, but he was one of the grandparents' son. So as a 4-year-old, I don't know, dragged me into the townhouse right in front of our townhouse, pulled my pants down, and physically raped me as a 4-year-old, 14-year-old raping a 4-year-old. I don't know what's going on. All I know is it hurts, and he's laughing that I'm like grunting, you know, and he did his thing, and then it was over, and that was it. And I remember, I guess the big question after it happened is, how come I didn't tell anyone? That's the mystery to me. Why how many more kids did he do this to in the family? Or how many other people did he hurt, you know? And that's the thing that like I got 3 little girls. I got a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 11-year-old. You know what I mean? And I hope I've done everything humanly possible as a parent to make sure those kids are always had my eye on them one way or another, or you know, everything set up perfectly to where they would not be in a scenario where someone outside, the person watching them, is going to hurt them in any way. So I just don't know why I didn't say anything. Why I didn't say, Mom, dude, just freaking, you know, hurt me right now. You know, I don't know. And that's the mystery to me. And then you live with that, right? So so growing up, you know, my mom was divorced and had 3 kids and divorced before she was 20. She got divorced twice and had 3 kids before she was 20. You know, one of those divorces being my dad. So none of us grew up with both our parents in the house. Everyone kind of branched off in their own families. But I stayed with my mom, and my brother and sister went off to be with their dad. But I don't know. I just don't know how that affected me as a child. All I know is that my mom being married 4 more times after that, having 6 stepdads in my life, or 5 stepdads in my life, and seeing that, by the time I was ready to discovering that you know, I wanted to have sex with women, you know, that triggered earlier than I probably should have. You know what I mean? So one weird pattern I recognized in my life too is it felt like everything from that point on, I felt like I was a sex magnet, but not to men, right? But like young girls would proposition me on a regular basis. I know of 3 scenarios as a 4, 5, 6-year-old where young girls, teens, preteens, would be propositioning me like there is something, I don't know, sexual about me that, you know, hey, I wanna have sex with you. I'm 5 years old. Okay, maybe the car right here. You know, it's like 12-year-old, 13-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what's going on. I just know, like, yeah, I'm down. Let's do this. You know, and they have to do everything, but that happened like 3 or 4 times with young ladies, man. As a 4, 5, 6, like I was like I don't know what it is, man. I still can't pinpoint it, but you know, but I just know that pretty young ladies were attracted to this 4, 5, 6-year-old stud of a man I was, or something, you know. So that happened. So that continued to feed. That continued to open up places in my brain that shouldn't have been awakened yet, you know. So that happened. So eventually, when I actually start having an idea of how to have her get physical with a lady, you know, I was all about that. You know, I was always just trying to, like, someone's daughter. If someone's daughter was near me, teenager, I didn't pass the buck, start hurting little kids. But if someone's daughter that was my age, 13, 14 years old, if I had a chance to be alone with them, I'm going for it. You know what I mean? I'm going for it. I'm the kid you don't want around your daughter when she's 13, 14 years old, because I was already, you know, thinking it was time. You know, I was like a chihuahua, man. I was out of control. You know what I mean? And so that kind of carried in through my to my life. When I turned 14, I got I left Richmond. I got sent out of Richmond, California to Phoenix. Came to Phoenix to live with an uncle. And basically I'm out here by myself. I heard by myself. My mom stays back in Richmond. She's dealing with some stuff there. I come to Phoenix. I'm 14 years old. I got that Bay Area swag, and Phoenix is like Texas or something, right? Like, for example, you know what I mean? They ask me, hey, man, you want a pop? I'm like, a what? A what? And I'm thinking he wants to fight, you know? A pop. My cousin's like, a pop, a soda, Coca-Cola. Like, oh. So I'm so like, because, like, you know, you grew up in the hood, man. You're like, a 20-year-old kids already like lived two lives, you know, of an innocent person, you know. Like when you're living that life as a teenager, you know, you're already seen, you already know, you already had experiences, you already seen relatives do some really evil stuff, you already seen a lot of stuff. So I'm a 14-year-old kid, man, but I'm like a 25-year-old man, you know, and I have a soul of a 25-year-old man. I didn't seen a lot, you know. I mean, there's no innocence about me. So
yeah, let me go ahead and step in right there, man. Right. It's one thing that I've said, talking to other people about this. Shout out to everybody. Jen, gracias, girlfriend. I highly appreciate it. That's my sister right there, man. Gracias, Jen. It's one thing that I've said telling people about this. I'm not really sure what it is, but ever since that happened to me, and it seemed like this is kind of a trend, no matter who it happens to, it's like older people some way, somehow know it, and they go after you. You know, like how you were saying, you were having older girls, you know, going after you, even though you were a kid. Yeah, you know, same here. Even when I was, you know, 10, 11, it's like older, you know, girls, not in their 40s or anything like that, but all come and, you know, want to get sexual in some way, somehow. It's like they knew, like, okay, you've already, you know, whatever. Looking back at it, I cannot pinpoint what it is, but I've always said this. I've always said, listen, once it happens to you, the predators seems like they know who to target because it's happened to them. Some way, somehow they can see it on kids that, you know, already have gone through it, and that's who they go after. That's why it happened to me more than once by more than, you know, one person. And speaking of people that's happened to, they've told me the same thing. It's like, I don't know. They just came up to me and I'm like, well, why not somebody else? Why you? You know, I don't know if it's the lack of confidence. I'm not sure if they see that the innocence of a kid is broken. I'm not really sure, but there's definitely something there, Tony. Definitely something there. So did this just happen to you once with this one person?
Yeah.
And okay, to the best of your knowledge, did he do this to anybody else?
I saw him making out with my sister, but I didn't see. I don't think they got sexual.
Okay.
So like I walked in on them maybe like 4 years later. I walked in the room and they're making out. They're like kissing, not like humping or anything like that. But it was yeah, that was enough to be like, oh, here we go again, you know.
And your sister and him, are they close to age?
She was older. She was older, and it was mutual.
Okay.
Like I said, there's a lot of adoption in my family. My mom was adopted, so the familia that I came into, it was through adoption. So there was like, I guess it was incest, but it wasn't, because there was no blood relation. So we're like foster kids, you know, from my mom was born into this family, you know, and that was that. So we were too, you know. So yeah, but that was you know, that was disturbing for me. But again, I didn't say anything. But she was a preteen, you know what I mean? So she was trying to figure herself out. You know, I haven't really mentioned that to anyone before, but you know, it's like it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. You know, my sister had her first child when she was 14, so the cycle continued from my mom, you know, and other family members just having those babies and they're 14 years old, getting pregnant as teenagers, you know, 13-year-old teenagers getting pregnant, you know. So it's like that cycle, You know, and the same thing with my mom. I'm pretty sure my mom was hurt too. You know what I mean? You got people telling me that my mom was hurt, but my mom don't want to talk about it. My mom would say they're crazy. You know what I mean? Because she doesn't want to take away. She doesn't want to defame anyone or take away from anyone's legacy or whatever. You know, I don't know what, or she doesn't feel like, you know, she's old school, man. I don't know. She's trying to keep that spot out of the light, and that's part of the problem, right? That's what we're trying to do, man. We're trying to expose it so we break that cycle of like secretness, and you know, so
Did you ever at any point, even as an adult, did you ever open up and tell anybody in the family and say like, hey, you know what, this person did this when I was, 4 years old?
No, the first time I sure did was with a good friend of mine. He was another pastor. We're both young pastors, and I was struggling, man. You know, as a pastor, I was struggling maintaining my sexual purity with women. You know, I was falling into relationships, man. I was having these intimate relationships with women, and I'm trying to be a pastor. I'm trying to be a leader. I'm single. I'm not married, but it only takes a girl to sit on. It only takes a girlfriend to sit on my lap, and next thing you know, I want to get physical with them, and things happen, and then I have to go through the whole process of telling my pastor or elders, whatever, and getting chastised. So, that's happened several times in churches where I'm like, so convicted, man, that, I don't want to be a leader that's telling people, hey, man, stay sexually pure. And then I can't keep my pants on when I'm in a scenario with a woman, So I would always it happens multiple times, man, where I had to either go to the president of the school I was going to because they're a Christian college, or the pastor because he's my boss, or just like this single guy, man, just like falling on my face, man, because I get propositioned, or I proposition the woman that I'm dating, and everything comes together. And so it's had an effect. I think it's from that, but I don't want to not take responsibility for my actions. But I think that it stems back from that, and I don't know how that connects. I always felt like it was a connection, but that happened. So there's been multiple brothers in the Lord who have in privacy, I tell me, you know what, man, I was hurt as a 4-year-old, and and they're like, they never shared their stories, but they're like listening, and they apologize. I'm not, I don't understand why I know what they apologize for, but I was just trying to let them know, I'm telling them, oh, I made these mistakes as a Christian, and then I'm trying to tell them this would happen to me. I think there might be a connection, and they don't really have any answer other than they're sorry that happened to me, which made me feel a little more alone, because
I will say this, Tony. I will say this, and I've said it before, right? And I don't know, some people probably don't make much of it because we're guys, but no, it is an issue, because my sexuality as a kid wasn't that normal of a young kid, just like you were sharing just a little earlier. I'm 11 years old, and I'm looking to get down, with the girl, hey, there's another girl around me that's 11 years old as well. My thing is like, okay, to me, I'm like, all right, hey, we're kissing, whatever, hey, let's keep going. When are we gonna take our clothes off and start handling? And I know being a guy, especially later on in my teenage years, it became like, that's fine. That's cool, man. It's cool. It's cool, homie. It's cool, just smash and dash and everything like that and all that kind of stuff, right? Looking back at it today, I can see that it was a real issue, because I could not, I never really had a girlfriend like that, it was just all about that. And it was very meaningless. It was very meaningless where I could just have sex with somebody and then just whatever, man. Hey, I'm gonna try to get your homegirl next. It didn't matter, and everybody at that time could kind of look at it like, hey, he's a dog, man, but it's cool, man. Get yours. But no, there was something really wrong there. There was something really wrong with that intimate moment. There was no connection. And at such a young age, when I could look at it now, I see my sons when they were that age, they weren't like that. They weren't going at it like that. And I can kind of make a correlation because most people that I talk to that this happened to them when they were a kid, their sexuality was way up there at a very early age, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, just trying to, have these sexual relationships that were so meaningless that no, it's not a normal thing because I wouldn't want my sons to be out there, smashing and dashing and having that type of attitude. That's not the right way to go about it in life. So there is some sort of connection to it, Tony. So I can definitely see where you're coming from on that. But so now, you're in Arizona now. You go through some struggles in life, that end up you end up getting incarcerated.
Yeah, so I came to Phoenix as 14, because I wasn't doing well in school. There was a lot of Africanos, a lot of black folks in Richmond. Like at the time when I was there, it was like almost like a reverse racism. It was like there was so many black folks in the town, and Hispanics were the second group, but were smaller. So it would be like always having a fight, like literally once a week having to fight just because I was brown and there's a group of kids that want to make me sport of me. So so I was like getting real old, man, where I didn't even want to go to school anymore. I remember my uncle, me asked to see if you want to go on the bus with me. I'm like, nah, it's all right. I literally had to fight a third of the bus just to freaking, just to kind of get to school. So I was getting real old and I was getting tired of that. And then it was a negative environment in Richmond. So they sent me to Phoenix. So I'm gonna stop right there. I had a pastor friend, pastor. I don't want to say his name, but people know him if they know me. He told me, he says, Tony, when I was in college, I had sex with 40 different women in 1 year. And he said, I don't know what's more disturbing, that I had sex with 40 different women or that I kept count of it. Mm. And he was trying to show me that there's something bigger than just the act, because I was ashamed because, I've been a Christian since I was 20 years old, man. You know what I mean? And why can't I like get my head out the gutter? Why am I always like, why am I still falling in these traps with women, knowing that, it ain't right, it ain't healthy, you know what I mean? And it had me thinking about, I kept count of it. I had the number. I kept track, whatever the number is, I added to it every time I had an experience. And then I would go through my mind with the names and the details in my head and just keep track of it, not to go fantasize later about it, even though that's in there still. But why am I keeping track? Oh, yeah. Number so-and-so. Oh, yeah, I was off by 2. Oh, duh. I completely forgot that person. What was her name? This is going through my head, right? For a long time, as I became a Christian, that stopped. But once in the blue moon, that thought will come back. What's the track record, I've been married now for 16 years, man. So grateful for that, so grateful, man. Finding a wife that, that loves you and that doesn't hold your past against you, it's the best thing ever. And sometimes I think having 3 daughters is like a healing process for me somehow, because I just don't, I just think about, I'm trying to protect them from me when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you guys are going to be on lockdown for a minute. I just want to let you guys know that, but Daddy loves you guys. Try to make it as comfortable as possible for you while you're here. But so I just want to throw that thought out there now. Came down here at 14. Felt like an outsider, man. This family out here, they're kind, they did the best they can. But I felt like, I just a loner all by myself. But I liked it because raza, there are my people here. I'm not saying that other people groups are bad, but I wasn't used to having so many Hispanic beautiful women all around me all the time. Everywhere I went, you know what I mean? There are people just like me. There's so many females. You know what I mean? You know, it feel like when you're in Richmond, if you know, I was crushing all these black girls. Not there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm gonna get beat up if I even go near them. So I ain't got a chance. I come to Arizona and all these white Hispanic women everywhere. They're fair game. I'm not afraid of anyone no more. I'm not having to feel fear of being jumped or anything. You know, I just like, so it was like open season for me, man. So I did that for a minute, and finally, after trying to get jobs, not doing well in any jobs, I don't know, my swagger was too hard from Richmond, so I was feeling like still not fitting in here in the Valley. So eventually, man, I just ended up a friend of mine I was working for asked me if I knew someone that had some meth, and I'm like, I got a friend in high school that has some meth. They gave me $20. I go pick it up. I say, hey man, what can I get for $20? And they gave me a big old rock, like a teener, like, you know, like a full gram. I'm like, so I don't know what the difference is. I go do the favor for my coworker. They're blown like, wow, can you get more? I'm like, yeah. After the second time, I'm like, wait. I like, can you? I tell my drug connection guy, can you just give me like more, bro? So I don't have to be coming back and forth. This is getting really awkward. So he gives me an 8-ball, 3.5 grams. So, you know, there it is. That's the start of I went from making $30 a day to making $400 a day as a 17-year-old. Oh, so now I got something. So that eventually got me busted, selling marijuana and methamphetamines. I ended up getting busted at 19, 3 different times. And those 3 different times in a 9-month period got me in Arizona State Prison. So that's kind of where I got 2.5-year sentence, possession of marijuana and possession of dangerous drugs. So anyway, I'm going to stop there if you have any people watching.
Yeah, hey, Tony, throughout all this, right? Throughout all this, is it ever in the back of your mind what happened to you getting raped at 4 years old? Did you ever think about it?
You know what, man? To be honest with you, I probably think about it more than I like to admit. Not because I enjoyed it but just because it was such a turning point for me, you know? You know, whenever, it haunts you, man. I gave it to the Lord. You know, the guy is still alive. You can catch the dude on the Facebook, get really, really, really sickening feelings when I see it. The photo, you know, potential friend request, not friend requesting me, but just his based on there, you know, hey, you might know this person. And, you know, it makes me angry. It kind of makes me disgusted. And then a couple of years ago, I realized that, you know, there's still power. The guy still got power over me because I haven't been able to let it go. I haven't been able to, it still affects me, man, in a negative way. You know, it's like 42 years ago, bro. And so I still have a negative, you know, it makes me angry. It makes me want to just go over there, you know, and, you know, crush his skull, you know. But
okay. Wow. You know, man, that's a rough position, man. Because I could tell, you know, you just saying that right now that there's still some sort of power that he has, you know. It took me a long time. It took me a long time to let it go, you know, and not have that feeling. And I think people do struggle with that. And people do say that, hey, nah, I'm good. I'm good now. You know, I'm good now. But, you know, they're not. You know, they're trying to convince others and they're trying to convince themselves, but they know there's still something inside that's still, you know, grasping onto them. And they're having a hard time every now and then with it. And it can it's the thing, the sad reality of this when I say listen, this can happen to you when you're a kid, and you can be 50, 60 years old, and it can still have an effect on you. You
Mhm.
know, it can still bring you down in life. Um, Tony, you know, you said you still see him like on Facebook, and he requests you on as a friend every now and then, or what have you, man. Um, what are you doing, man, to like deal with this? What is there any thoughts of like saying like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna tell everybody what happened and that it was you that did this. I mean,
Uh,
what is
I did. I did.
okay?
We did have a family trip, and my mom was getting under my skin, man. My mom was getting under my skin, man. So I just blurted out. You know what I mean? I was like, why don't you want to see this person? And I'm like, because he's a rapist. Because he hurts kids. You don't know how to watch your kids. I said something like that.
Right, right, right.
Out of like anger. You know what I mean? And she got quiet. And it's almost like I hope she heard that, but then again, I'm like, I hope I didn't hurt her by being angry. I was just, you blame your mom, man. You blame, where were you?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Uh, couldn't you tell something was off? You know, but
Yeah.
my mom, like I said, man, my mom been married. She was married twice. She was divorced twice and had 3 kids before she was 20. She was alcoholic. You know what I mean? She was hurt, abandoned by her biological mom, at the hospital. You know, so she had gone through it, and she learned to put the blinders on because she was also hurt as a child multiple times, and as an adult. So she had the blinders on nice and thick, to the point when we started trying to talk about things, she didn't want to talk about them. And always be about wanting to figure out what happened to her, and the things we're hearing, and she just didn't want to talk about her, in denial, in denial, in denial. Right now, she's going through it. She's going through her steps. Here's a scenario, and this is open information. My her husband 8 years ago, 9 years ago, was arrested for touching one of my nieces.
Yeah.
He manned up about it, though. He manned up. That's the only part I respect about the guy, is that he didn't deny it. He's also a Christian guy. Reads his Bible every single day.
Yeah.
My niece told her mom. My mom told my niece. My niece told her mom. Her mom told my brother. My brother confronted my mom and Jose, and Jose honed up to it. Cops came over. Hey, did you touch your granddaughter? Your It was by marriage. Did you touch this girl? And he's like, yeah, I did. I did. When she was laying down, I fondled her. He just guilty. And he's doing like 15 years for it right now. He's in the pinta. And so it's not even blood relation, bro. It's not even DNA. It's like a spirit or something. Because this guy had nothing to do with our family, and yet there the cycle continues. It's like my mom married him because he had an element of that cycle in him, or something. It's
You
weird,
know,
right?
yeah, it's the thing of like, you know what, you know, if you grow up in an abusive home, most likely, not all the time, but most likely, you yourself are gonna have an abusive relationship. That's what you're gonna get into. Now, you know, you saw mom and dad fighting and hitting each other, abuse in the home, whatever it may be. A lot of the times, you end up getting into a relationship that's similar to it. Now with this, it does transfer over as well. You know, with this whole molestation and this sexualness, right? Yeah, it's there too, and it kind of builds a cycle um, that I would like to break. But it's not put out there. You know, it's not out there in the light, especially because a lot of it does come within family. You know, and even in this case, like you're saying, you know, it's not blood related, right? But man, you know, your mom married this guy. The guilt in all of that, she brought this to the family and all. And damn, man, I pray for the best situation for your niece now, and for anybody that goes through it, because a lot of it is just kept hush hush, swept under the rug. And hey, you know what? Hopefully, in 20 years, everyone will forget about all this, except for the one it happened to. That's the one that doesn't forget about it and
Right.
is left to struggle for the rest of their lives about it. And that's
So now,
something that I definitely want to change. They struggle with the alcohol, with the drugs, and just
yeah.
doing so many other things to try to cure the pain and the mindset and all. But Tony, brother, you changed around a lot. You came pastor. What are you doing in life today? You were talking about real estate. Doing all kinds of things, man. Tony's doing some things, man. What's
Yeah.
up, Tony? Talk to us,
Yeah.
man.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back. I like this interview, man, because they're both like, let's go back for a second. You asked the question, what am I doing today? How did it affect me? The being molested as a 4-year-old, and it's affecting me in a way where I feel like I'm overly sex drived. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I feel like I'm hornier than the average guy, I think. And my wife is really good about taking care of me, but I think that's an effect I've had since I can start getting aroused, you know. So I think that's might be healthy, may not be healthy, but I feel like no one else seems to be it seems like I feel like I'm a little more excited around my wife than some husbands are. Maybe it's just me. I don't know, but that's one way I think. My wife always gives me crap for it. You know what I mean? So anyway,
Yeah.
make a long story short, we have to have a schedule because we got if not, it's like every day, baby, come on, anyway, and it's 16 years of that. My wife's only human, man.
I
She's not Wonder
completely
Woman.
agree, man. I'm with you there, brother. I'm with you there. I get what you're talking about. And just real quick, just piggybacking off what you were saying just a little earlier, right? Is that I could have had sex with girls, right? And just kept going and going and going, and there was so much emptiness to it, right? But being with my beautiful, crazy local wife today, the companionship, the friendship that her and I have now been able to open and see, the specialness in the intimacy, and the again, the relationship is like a friendship as well, But I'm with you, Tony. I'm with you. Yes, the sexuality, for one, is still there. I'm not really sure if that ever really goes away. But yeah, absolutely, man. And yeah, you're being open about it, Tony, and I definitely appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
You're
and
aroused easily. You see girls and everything. It's like, whoa, and more than I would say, yeah, than the average guy. But it's just the relationship that I have with her. It's really just opened my eyes and opened up my heart, man. Something that wasn't there before. But go ahead, Tony.
and the second thing that affected me is having children. Having children, I don't trust anyone. You know what I mean? It's like and when I say that, I feel like I'm crap on everyone's parenting skills, because it's like, well, if you don't trust anyone, how the heck are you going to go to work? How the heck are you going to let your kids go to school? How the heck are you going to go to church and leave them with the youth group? You know what I mean? And that's like, you're right. So we homeschool. So we have a babysitter that we rarely ever use. So so we have a church that we're in full control of, and but we can always see the kids. My policy for church is, if we can't see our kids in church, then we need to make that happen. So I try to have always like plexiglass where I can see children from a distance, video cameras. I mean, I'm real paranoid like that amongst Christians, and I'm like, hey man, don't get it twisted. Christians are sinners too.
Yes.
Christians get divorced, from what I understand, the same rate as non-Christians. We all have struggles. The only difference of a Christian, man, is that we understand who we are, that we're forgiven, and that nothing can snatch us out of God's hands. That's the only difference, that we know Jesus Christ. Other than that, the tendencies still can creep up. and you can still act out, you know, and your old lifestyle will still creep back up. You're a new creation, but you still have this body here that still is still part of this world. So, you know, so you're not going to be completely complete until you're face to face with the Lord. When once you die, then you're going to be complete. Then you don't have to worry about it. There is this song from this band named Live. Do you remember the band Live or Live from the 90s? They had that song. Come on, it's like a bald-headed, skinny white guy. That one song about the baby. Lightning crashes and the old mother dies. The angel. Anyway, I'm not gonna try to sing.
No, but we'll get you for karaoke night, though, Tony.
There was a song. The first song they had, it said, "Where we won't be raped, where we won't be scarred like that, where we won't be raped." And he's talking about heaven, man. He's talking about the scar. He's like, what got me was, well, we won't be scarred like that. We've been scarred, man. We've been scarred. I had a lady, she's a wife of a pastor, and I was just talking to her at this little barbecue the other day. And out of the middle of the conversation, this beautiful young lady says, I was raped. Like in the middle of the conversation, like out of nowhere. And she's like getting emotional on me. Like whatever we're talking about, she just wanted to share that. You know, and you know what I did? Me too. And she was like, she started crying. She didn't expect to hear that from me.
Right.
You know, she didn't expect to hear that from me, man. But that's why I think sometimes our stories have to be told so we can be able to help people who've been scarred like that. And I told her there's going to be a place where we won't ever be scarred like that again. And that's when we're with Jesus, man. That's when we're with the Lord. But right now we have to carry those scars. God forgave us, but the scars are still there. You know what I mean? Things will still happen, but we can look forward to a place where we don't have to carry all those memories. You know what I mean? All the bad choices we made because of the scarring, and you know, and all the fears we have because of the scarring. You know, people tell me, I should know, man. I should know. I know the Bible verses that tell me, you know, that I'm new in Christ, that you know, that I have nothing to fear. You know, that the Lord's with me. That God's merciful, that I'm a new creation. I know all that, man. But I also know that I'm in his body right here, and I'm not going to be new, completely new, until I try and meet the Lord. So I just want to share that, man. I'm looking forward to the place where we'll never be hurt again, where I don't have to worry about my kids being hurt again. Well, I will never have to be scarred like that. Scarred like we were scarred, brother. You know what I mean? Where I could be free in Jesus, man. Where I can help people. But right now, I'm just using that to help people get through it, man. You know, help people get through, you know, what they experience. So fast forward. So I go to the joint. Both me and my mom gets a DUI case. She's in Phoenix now. She gets a DUI, like 2 or 3 of them in a couple months. She's on one. She's out drinking work. Weekend warrior. Friday. She starts Friday at 5 o'clock after work, and she's drinking the 7-Up Sunday in the afternoon. She's going the whole 48 hours straight, you know what I mean? She starts off with brandy on Friday night. She ends it with a couple beers Sunday morning, and then drinking 7-Up every weekend since I can remember. That's what she did. That was her routine. She was a what do you call that? A working alcoholic.
Yeah.
But she didn't skip a weekend. And you know, she's only like, when I'm 18, she's only like, I don't know, 36. She's still young, man. You know, but anyway, she gets a DUI. I get popped for weed and meth. We both end up in the Arizona State Prison at the exact same time.
Wow.
She gets sick in the joint. They find some cysts in her ovaries that might be cancerous. She's not doing good. I'm already locked up doing my time. I'm getting the kites from my girlfriend at the time, telling me your mom's not doing well. And she's in the joint, and they don't want to give her a surgery, and she's in pain, agonizing pain. So I'm already about 3 or 4 months locked up. I'm already doing, like, you know, I'm just doing my time, minimum security prison. And I go there, and I go to my friends in there. I say, hey, man, my mom might have cancer. My friend's in prison. I'm like, hey, man, everyone's mom here has cancer. We don't want to hear that. And I remember these 2 guys, my friends, just standing up and walking out, pissed off, and I shared that with them. I was trying to get like some, you know, someone to hear me because I'm all alone in this. My mom at the time is like the most important person in my life. So I'm like just trying to figure out how to get through this. So I ended up going to the prison chaplain, the Christian church in the joint. I was in the minimum security at the time, so it's easy to get around. They call it a low security. So I go to the chaplain. I told him my story. I asked him to pray for my mom. That little prison church in there surrounded me. They prayed for her, and I just started getting real about God, man. I felt like God spoke to me through the Bible, man, like Matthew or the Gospel of John. And I felt like he was telling me he loved me and that I had a future and that I was forgiven and that, I belonged, man. I had value, so, and I'm like teary-eyed, and I started following Jesus like maybe 5 months of my prison sentence. And then shortly after that, I was singing songs, walking around the yard, singing like, hallelujah songs to myself. Because, now I feel more free in prison than I ever felt the previous 20 years of my life. I was doing all kinds of stuff, but I never felt more free incarcerated, man. So this corrections officer is like, hey, man, he comes up to me. He walks up to me with his thunder shades on. He said, what are you high off of? And I said, I'm just feeling really good, man. I'm just feeling really good, man. I'm just thanking Jesus, man, for everything he did. And he's like, okay. And he asked me to follow him into the little conference room over there. And they gave me a pee test on the spot. And I couldn't pee, man. I was dehydrated or something. I couldn't pee. So I'm sharing the gospel with this corrections officer. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ loves you. He died on the cross. I'm trying to pee in a cup by talking to this guy the whole time about Jesus for maybe 20 minutes. And he's like, all right, enough. If you can't pee, it's all right. I'm like, all right, sorry, man, maybe later. And I walk out and not thinking anything of it. And then later on that evening, they grabbed all my stuff, these other prison guards, and they put me in the hole. And I said, what's going on? They said, well, you refuse to pee. You're trying to hide drugs from us, and we need to search your area to see where the drugs are at. I said, I'm not on drugs, man. I just couldn't pee. I can pee now. They're like, no, too late. They put me in the hole, and I was in there, and I was like, okay, now the hole is a scary place. It's just by yourself, it's dark room, aluminum toilet, and like a concrete bunk in a small room with a little slat of glass between you where they can put your food through. So the prison guard changes, the new shift. A prison guard comes up to my window and he goes, Paleo? I'm like, hey, who's this? And he says, Sergeant so-and-so. And he goes, what are you doing in here, man? The corrections officer was asking, what am I doing here? Because they knew that I was a holy ruler. I was always like talking to him about Jesus. I was always happy, always just all in the Christian groups in the joint. So he knew that there was something different about me. He didn't understand how I would end up in the hole.
Right.
And I don't know what I'm doing in here. And then he says, is there anything I can get for you? I said, yeah, man, can you give me my Bible? I had a couple of books, maybe a snack. He's like, I'll see what I could do. I'm in the hole. Okay. Right. About 20 minutes later, I hear slides under my door. Slide. And it was like a snack. It was my Bible and a couple of books and a pen and paper. And I was like, thanks. And he didn't say anything. But, that was like some against protocol, right? But he gave me that love, man, because he knew there was something different about me. This kid is not the same kid when he first hit the yard, So I ended up being a transfer to the big house. So in Arizona, I'm not sure how it is in California, but they got the 1 through 5 system. 1 being you're the most non-threatening, and 5 being you're the worst death row inmate if possible. So they sent me from a yard that was a 1-2 to a yard that was a 4-5, the worst that Arizona had to offer. So I ended up in this place, man, called Kaibab. I'm 20 years old, 135 pounds, and real prison. 23-1. You ain't getting out of your cell. You're locked up with someone that's probably never going to go home. I go from a prison that everyone's getting out in 20 months or 24 months to a prison that a lot of people ain't never going to go home. This is me in there. And I'm a Christian, which is not a good look if you're in the joint. And if you're in if you're in the real joint, it's not a good look, man. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, all right, fresh meat. So anyway, that's my story. Any questions or anyone on the show that any questions? I'm keep going if you're not.
Oh man, Tony, how long was your mom in there for, man?
4 months.
You guys got locked up together, pretty much. You guys were in there the same time. How long was she locked up for?
She did a 4 month stint. She only did 4 months, but it was still prison time because it was a felony.
Uh-huh.
So she did it 4 months, and then she got out, and then she was able to visit me afterwards, and that was pretty cool, man. My mom's doing well now. She's healthy. What I mean? She's single. I mean, she's not single, but she's living alone right now. What I mean? But she's come a long way. She's, like I said, she's dealing with her own personal past for the first time. In all her 65 years, she's finally going to a group where she can unpeel the onion. What I mean? Start dealing with some of the stuff, and we always hope it happened. What I mean? But in God's timing, got a hold of her. I think she's doing well now. I think she's in a much better place than she has been all her life. I'm really proud of her, and she's part of our church ministry here. What I mean? She's a fan of Pastor David and Sharon also, and she supports me. There's a time where I didn't think she really supported me, man, because I would bring up stuff and she would trigger her off, or she would say something, it would trigger me off, and we'd always be at each other, man. Like I felt like I was a father figure to her, because she always seemed to make not wise choices. So growing up fast, I felt like I had to be like the man of the house, because the man of the house would never be there for very long. So it was a little bit of a toxic relationship, and maybe some bitterness towards her parenting skills. Okay. But we're over that, man. I just love her now, just because I know that hurt people, and I know that she needed to deal with her own stuff first. And now that she's dealing with it, it feels a lot easier to kind of love her unconditionally. She still says things that drive me mad, but I've learned the discipline of like loving her, seeing past it, not always having to share what I think. Just kind of give it to the Lord. My wife gets it. I tell my wife everything, so my wife has to hear it. What I mean? But my mom doesn't get that calentada that I would give her, as her son, almost like a parent. Because our parents, they had us when we were teenagers, so they're not much older than us. What I mean? And so sometimes it gets kind of twisted. You kind of get twisted, like that authority figure kind of gets turned around sometimes. Especially if the parent submits to it. It's kind of strange, but that's kind of how it was in a little bit of my life. So anyway, so I go to the joint, 6 months in, slip into the darkness. I'm in the prison system, and it's a scary place, man. I went from having a church group in the prison. There was like 60 dudes going to church service in this minimum security prison, to this prison that had 3 times the amount of inmates and only 3 people going to church. Like, people would rather be locked down 24 hours rather than going out there, pitting yourself on Front Street and going to church for an hour. I'd rather just not go to church, bro, because it's such a bad look. It doesn't look good. What I mean? But if you're going to be down for yours, you have to be down for yours. And I could talk about all that all over again, the fights, the skina, the experiences, but that's not what we're here for. That's a different channel. This ain't prison. Yeah. This ain't Thecholotrucker Prison Live channel.
Yeah. Brendan Love is over here talking about California. How you're saying Arizona has level 1 through 5. California, we got level 1 through 4.
Okay.
So four being the highest. That's when you hear about those talking about, like, man, I was level 4 yard. That's California. That was basically the highest. So all right. So when you get out, is it a struggle? Was it for you like, okay, was I only a Christian because I was locked up? Was it a struggle once you got out? I remember Pastor David, he turned Christian while he was incarcerated as well. And when he got out, he didn't want it to be like, okay, this was only because I was incarcerated. No, it's like, I got to walk the walk out here now. Like, how was it for you once you got out?
I was like most people who experience the creator of the universe. I was so grateful for my freedom and for meeting the Lord, man. Like, it changed. I was a changed man. There's just, so my heart goes out to those guys who get out of the joint and have the same experience, but they get sucked up by the world, either in a relationship or a church. Some church doesn't understand them and kick them to the curb and kind of kill their I don't know. I can't speak for other people's experience, Cholo. What I do know is that what the Lord revealed the truth to me, that He was the creator of the universe, that Jesus Christ was the way, the truth, and the life, and that He had the words of life, and there was nowhere else for me to go. And I didn't understand the Trinity. Like, I remember going in the joint, hanging out with my Christian buddies, that the one or two that I've made in the 800 man prison. I'm like, and I remember reading the Bible, and it's like months after I was a Christian. I'm like, hey, did you guys know that Jesus Christ is God? And they're looking at me all crazy, like, yeah, man, everyone knows that. I didn't know that. I didn't have a preacher. I didn't have anyone breaking down to me, but I had an experience with the creator of the universe, man. And I felt the love. I felt the release. I felt the weight come off. I felt a joy that surpasses all understanding. And I was more free than I had ever been before that moment. So when I got out of the joint, I was a little bit of a firecracker. I was aggressive. I was like a lion out in the free in a safari, and then they're like, hey man, you got to go live in a zoo. I'm like, okay, and I don't know what's going on. I just want to go chase gazelles, man. What's going on? It's this church culture. I was just trying to adapt, but I just had a real experience with the creator, so it was hard for me to adapt to the church life. But I did everything I could, and I know people who were with me in there that got out, that did good for a little while and then fell off. So I know when people say, hey man, you're all Christian in there, when you got out, then you kind of did your own thing. It's true. It happened. I don't have a formula for that, but I do know when I see someone who met the Lord, that's got out of the joint, and they got that sparkle, they got that fieriness in them, I know exactly where that's from, man, because that's me 26 years ago, so that's why I gravitate. A lot of times I gravitate to two people groups when it comes to sharing with people about God or hanging out with people. It's usually felons or Christians or non-Christians and college kids. Those are the two groups of people that I always gravitate to, because I feel like they're the ones I best connect with. So, but anyway, man. So yeah, for me, it was going to a church that was like a military. I was already giving money, my little 5 cents an hour I was making in the joint. I was sending checks to the church, $10, $20 or whatever, donations. So when I got out of the joint, they already knew who I was. I was the guy that sent $10 every 2 weeks to give to the church, right? I passed up a 6-pack of Coca-Cola, some Twinkies, man, to give to the church, because I wanted to support my home church. So when I got out right away, man, they put me in a Bible study program. They already knew, because my mom was at that church praying for me weekly. I pray for my son. He's getting out in 6 months. He's getting out in 2 months. He's getting out next week. They're like, yes, yes, yes. So they knew me by my name because of my mom's rotation in the prayer circles and that church. And that church is hardcore. So it was easy for me to go to a strict church that didn't play around. It was like militant. So I was like, yeah, it's easy. Everyone's falling off. Can't keep up. Like, man, shoot. Easy, bro. What? I got to give a fight to pray. Let's do it. You want me to go door to door with flyers? I ain't afraid of anything. I just try that. My life, there's something crazy, man, about having your life threatened for Jesus. And so when I got out of the joint, I wasn't scared of anything, man. I was down for whatever. I was like, I never been a gangbanger, but I was down for the Christian cause.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then people saw that sparkle in me, so they started suggesting I should go to a Christian college. So I went to a Christian college, and that was hard to get into because they had their standards or whatever, and I had a background. They didn't want any felons walking around. They didn't want to get robbed. Just like stereotyping me, but the Lord wanted me there. I went to college, got a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree, biblical studies, and then I asked a guy who was a professor there, who was also a pastor, hey, man, you guys looking for someone to work with you guys? I'm looking for a job. And he hired me, man. He hired me to his Baptist church I was going to. And then when I got there, then they offered to pay for my graduate school. So I went to graduate school for 4 years, man. I got this degree called the MDiv, a Master of Divinity. It's like the highest degree in graduate studies you get for theology. They teach you everything. And that's where I met my wife. Michelle. And, that was cool. I think that all the Bible college and all the graduate studies, those almost 9 years, wasn't for me to learn about all this lofty stuff about the Bible. I really feel like those 9 years were just preparing me to meet my wife. Okay. Because that's the best part. It just took 9 years to finally have her sit next to me and meet her. But I really feel like there's something there, man, because I really hated school. I love learning about God and stuff like that, but I'm not a student, man. I don't like writing. I don't like reading. I'm so grateful for Audible because now I feel like the most educated guy on the planet because I'm just listening to I listen to all these books. Like, I just went to that book, and I read all. I haven't read all Pastor David's books, but I listened to them all. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that's exactly.
Yeah, Kirk books. I've gone through all kinds of books I've always wanted to go through. I just listen to them. Like I go to sleep and I wake up, the end. Like, oh, that was great. Next book.
You know what? I just finished Pastor David's book. Shoot, the last one he wrote. What was the name of it?
Fingerprint, God, I think, or your life, God's.
Man,
who you are.
Identity.
It's identity.
Yeah, your identity in Christ. I think that's it.
Who you are.
Yes, I listened to the whole audible on it, man. It's a really good book. I like the detail. He gets in such detail and gives examples of today's life on how to bring it together for it to make sense. And no, I'm with you. People have asked me like, hey, if you could go back and do life again, would you go to college? I'm like, no, I still wouldn't because it's just not for me, man. Right, it's just not for me. But so I'm with you. There's definitely things I would have done differently, but yeah, no, college it's just not for me. So okay, Tony, all this you went through all this, man, and it all started for you, being raped when you were 4 years old, right? And today, like you said, the person is still out there. Does it ever cross your mind, Tony, that this guy's still doing it?
No, but that's just me spinning under the rug. That's just me carrying my own shame. You know what I mean? How many women I ran through without even considering their feelings or them. Like they weren't. I was sexually active as a teenager, and I was, and so there was a lot of teenage girls. You know what I mean? That I took advantage of, So I have that under my belt. I got my own luggage. But do I think if he's still doing it, man? Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out why I didn't say anything for so long. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason for it, but I'm like immediately afterwards, like my 3 girls, if something goes wrong, they're losing their minds. They're real adamant about sharing whatever's going on. They're real quick to deal with whatever scenario. I feel like that, but I don't know why. I just kept it in, man. I didn't, I'm sure, like I said, there's a psychological reason for it, but it like blows my mind, man. Like, I'm not sure if that would have helped or made it worse. I don't know what, but maybe, I don't know. But what I do know for sure is that I need to let it go, like you said. I need to give it. I need to forgive him. Like talking about it is like my way of saying I'm not going to be trapped in this. I'm not going to let this imprison me. I'm not going to let it shame me no more. You know what I mean? I want people to be free, and that we can be free and they can understand, why do I act like this? Why do I do what I do? And I think that's kind of like unraveling. And now I understand better, why I'm overprotective with my kids and my wife, and I could kind of work through it, kind of massage it and try to like, okay, calm down. Not everyone's evil. Not everyone's a predator, but until you like speak it out, recognize the demon behind it or whatever, recognize that there's no more, there's no elephant in the room, then there's something liberating about that. So I feel like just talking about it is liberating enough for me to be like, you know what? He who has no sin, let him cast the first stone. And in spite of this guy may be a predator or whatever, I feel like my hands are dirty too, man. I've done a lot of dumb stuff. I shot at a helicopter by accident once, police helicopter. Didn't know it was in the air, shooting up in the air. All of a sudden, I got a bright light on me. Police are on me. I'm like, oh, crap. That could have easily been a, cop killer. I didn't know, bro, but I've done dumb things like that, right? So there's like you want to go into my suitcase? You know, I got stuff in there too, man, that I'm proud of. You know, so but let's talk about the real estate so I can go do my Bible study.
Yeah. Hey, yes. So real quick, Tony, just tell the people what you're doing today, man. You're dealing with real estate. Just give us just a few minutes on that.
I got good news and bad news. The bad news is you got to be rich to do this real estate thing now because you can't buy anything. The good news is I didn't know what I was doing, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to turn $28,000 house into over $1 million in real estate. You know, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be a rocket science. But you do have to be able to persuade people, and you do got to be aggressive. So I'd say this real estate pointer would apply to just anything in life, and that is, you move quickly. You move quickly. If you see something you want, you got to move on it. You got to be obsessed about it. The way I raised money, when we finished school, me and my wife, 2008, the world ended. The housing market, the banks, everything shut down. We graduated, think we were getting a church job. No one was hiring. Everyone was running for the hills. Everyone was like, it's the end of the world. You know, remember that? People were jumping out of their offices, man, because they're like depressed that the real estate was crashing or the banks are crashing. So my wife had a little bit of money saved up from college. We bought our first house. We're like, just buy a house and see what happens. $28,000. We bought a house for $28,000. We spent $1,500 fixing it up and sold it for a whopping $35,000. We didn't know what we were doing and we couldn't figure it out. But that first house gave us our money back. We learned buying the crappiest house in the best neighborhood was the key. So we went to a different neighborhood and we bought 2 houses there, $90,000. We raised money by begging all of my wife's family members, literally begging them to let's borrow $5,000, $10,000 each. And my dad, old school, he's like, mijo, if you can't buy it, you can't buy it. Like, I know you get the money, Dad. You can't be driving trucks for 45 years and not have some money saved up. Come on. And he's like, maybe borrow like 5 or 10. But he was like, really like, I'm tied up. I'm like, man, you're tied up. You're just paranoid. You don't want to invest in something. You don't trust your kid. But anyway, so we raised money. We raised almost $90,000. I would go to Home Depot with my credit card. I have friends that were doing work on their houses. I said, hey, man, give me the cash. I will max out my Home Depot card, deliver all the materials to them, and they would give me a check for the materials. So all this, man, trying to raise 90 G's. I raised 90 G's and bought 2 more houses in a nicer neighborhood and sold both those houses the following year for 120 each. So $90,000 turned to $240. And the same thing, man, just throwing lipstick on a pig. I was just smacking drywall up, and I didn't know anything about this. I got a graduate degree, but I don't know nothing about real estate. But that's what I did, raising money over and over again. And just like the dope game, I just put my money right back in the dope. I just put my money right back in the real estate. So we're broke. We're broke when we have real estate. And the market keeps on going up. It keeps on going up. And I keep on making more money. 15 houses later, we made a living off of it. And like I said, we own 2 houses that have no mortgage. And it's a house in an exclusive neighborhood. So we're gonna use that to open our music venue now. So that's kind of what we did. So what's the pointers? Don't give up. Hit every one of you up for money, even if it's $2,000 or $5,000. Get some credit cards. Use the credit card smart and max those bad boys out. Get those 24 a month. You have to pay you back with no interest. Type of dealios. Pay those credit cards back. That's all I have to say about that.
Tony, I know you got to run, brother. I know you got to run. Last words for anybody that went through child molestation, that may be watching. Any last words of advice, carnal?
I would say that the only true way we could really go forward is to letting things go. Jesus Christ is the only one that's really given me any kind of hope in the future, man. There's been that's really all I gotta say about that, bro. There's no pointers, man. It's just you gotta trust the Lord, man. You gotta put your trust in Jesus Christ, man. He knows how we've been scarred. You know, he knows how we've been hurt. He understands, you know, and so that's all I'd say about that, brother. I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to go forward other than letting it go. And you know, just yeah, that's about
I
it.
got you, man. Understood. Hey, Tony, I want to thank you, brother. I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story, man. You're like a firecracker, man. You're definitely like a firecracker, man. So, hey, gracias so much for coming on and sharing your story, man. I'm trying to get this, you know, out there, out in the spotlight. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate you helping me do that, man. Because I
Absolutely,
think this is definitely something that needs to be out in the light. So we're gonna leave it right there, familia. Tony, you want to share anything where they can find you at all?
House Arrest Church Phoenix, man. You can look us up on Pastor David's website, housearrestchurch.com. Just look up the Phoenix part, and we're right there. And all the information you need, you can get a hold of us.
As always, familia, live your life like you're on the road. Be aware of your surroundings and always keep a safe distance. Blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. Until next time, this is the Thecholotrucker for my man, Tony.
All right, Cholo. Peace out, brother.